I'm Austin Prey, senior reporter here at Payments. Joining me today is Ben Lamb, Chief Operating Officer of Capital One's trade credit business. Thanks for joining us today, Ben.
Hey, Austin, good morning.
Good morning. So today we're talking about an exciting topic, just digging into kind of how true accounts receivable transformation is more than just automation. And kind of leading right off with that, what does the typical accounts receivable program look like today? What are merchants getting from the solutions they use, both from a technical standpoint and maybe more of a human touch support lens?
Sure, Austin. First, I'd say I'm pretty sure AR programs aren't the thing that business leaders wake up in the morning thinking about, and certainly not thinking of AR programs as a competitive advantage. But I think they can be. In my experience, the typical in-house AR program, it's running the same way it has for the last 20 or 30 years. Same tools, same processes, sometimes even the same people. It's an outdated legacy program. It's manual, it's clunky, and it's manual and clunky not just for the merchant, but also for their customers. I think AR generally is viewed as a back office function and tends to get very little investment. I'd say on top of that, merchants don't always have the resources or the technology to efficiently manage or improve their own programs. So more and more businesses are turning to third-party solutions to help them improve their AR team's efficiency. And we see forward-thinking CFOs also seeking to improve the customer experience, which we see as more and more, that's the battleground where companies are competing for customer sales. Those solutions, those third-party solutions can be software or tools that help companies do it better for themselves, or in the case of Capital One Trade Credit, can be a full-service AR solution that does it all for them, combining great technology, exceptional customer experience, and really freeing up the business to focus on their product, their customers, and their growth.
Awesome. Yeah. And then, when it comes to focusing on those, their products, their customers, their growth, what are some of the top needs as it relates to an AR program of merchants and their business customers?
Yeah. I'll start with the business customers. For them, it's really a purchasing tool, right? Customer need access to payment terms that work for their business and their cash management. They need insights into their purchasing and payment history, things that enable them to manage their business expenses. They also need tools for efficiently managing their payments. And I think, like consumers, these businesses need 24/7 service. So that's the buyer side. On the merchant side, I think merchants are hungry for efficiency, lower costs, cash flow management, risk protection, and again, providing a really positive customer experience to win and retain customers. So more merchants are looking for a better answer, one that helps them improve that outdated AR practice and that demands staff time and drive operational costs. While people are doing things like manual invoicing, making collections calls, handling check payments. And oftentimes we see using spreadsheets for cash applications and reconciliations. Some merchants are turning to digital solutions, which can certainly help transform that clunky experience. But we believe true AR transformation is more than just automation. In my view, winning merchants, the merchants that win will have transformed their full end-to-end process, not just pieces of it.
Yeah, and maybe touching on that, there's a whole host of needs that these merchants and their business customers have. Kind of two-part question, I guess. What needs can technology help solve for, and then which of those needs might require a more nuanced or kind of human touch approach?
Let's start with technology. I'll talk a little about automation and digital self-service. Look, automation is important. Digital self-service capabilities are important. And they're there to simplify an AR team's work and also address the majority of what I think of as customers' simple needs. Things like where's my balance or what's my balance, or I need to look at a statement or an invoice. Look, automation can be a big benefit to customers, like real-time automated credit decision for a new account when a customer is making a purchase and wants to use the credit right away. You also asked about sort of the human touch, and I think that's a great part of the question, and maybe the secret weapon here. Again, automation and digital self-service super important, but I don't think they're the complete answer. It also takes, in our experience, a business-to-business focused servicing team to help customers and merchants with the more complicated needs. For instance, a credit line increase for a really big purchase, or the need to dispute a purchase that wasn't received. We see a direct relationship between the human connection in that buying experience and the customer's satisfaction. I'll also say if technology just makes it easier for the AR team, but not for the business customer, for the buyer, it's not the right solution. I give you an example like payment disputes. Sometimes being able to pick up the phone to work through a really thorny dispute is necessary. And that high touch experience can make a really big impact for the customer relative to just sort of submitting a ticket online and waiting around for a response. So, this is where your AR team plus strong technology plus great customer service, helps to win and retain customers.
Absolutely. And when merchants are ready to modernize their accounts receivable process, what should they look for? Like what makes a provider, stand out, and how can merchants kind of, be aware of what they should look for?
Yep. If I were shopping for a provider here, let's keep it simple. I'd be looking for the right combination of technology and again, to use that term, human touch. On the technology side, if you're in a place now where your in-house system looks like it did 20 or 30 years ago, there's a chance to make a huge leap forward. Think about, you have the ability to reduce or to introduce real-time capabilities like an online application with instant decisioning. You can introduce self-service capabilities like the ability for that customer to view purchases or download invoices, to pay online. You'll also want to maintain visibility into those customers' accounts. Here at Capital One Trade Credit, we have a tool called Merchant Smart View that allows the merchant to see the things the customers are doing, their transactions, payments, delinquent invoices, things like open to buy. And we found that visibility really critical for merchants to stay connected to their customers. So that's sort of the technology side. On the human touch, the in-house programs that we see are incredibly proud of their customer service, right? They don't want to lose that quality. They don't want to lose that connection. And frankly, they shouldn't, and they don't have to. So, one option is to supplement the existing in-house staff that you have with modern technology and tools. Another option is to find a solution that's really the tag team of great technology and great customer service associates. And really, you should be looking for associates that treat their merchant partners' customers as if they're their own.
Yeah, I think that's a great point there. And maybe more broadly speaking, kind of what are some of the growth opportunities that can arise from one of these best-in-class AR transitions?
Yeah, Austin, I think it's a number of the things we just talked about. So let's sort of recap. Like, if you've reduced the burden and the expense of your in-house AR team, that's a good guy. If you've equipped them with the tools to make customized purchasing offers in real time, that's a good guy. If we reduce the friction for the buyer and given the buyer those self-service capabilities backed by great customer service, all of a sudden that sort of little old AR program that was running in the background that hadn't changed in years just became a really powerful growth lever.
Awesome. Yeah. And then, we've talked about the applications of technology and automation, and then as well as, pairing that with this great high touch customer service. Kind of, what is the role that automation can play in accounts receivable? And then, separately, kind of where are the opportunities for these great, problem solving agents and really, high touch customer service employees to make an impact?
Sure. You've heard the expression better, cheaper, faster. I think automation really helps us with faster and cheaper. And look, like, that's huge. If you also want better, I think better comes when you make simple things truly simple. You're reducing friction, you're enabling real-time experiences, and allowing digital self-service for simple things. But look, like, not everything is simple. And so you really need an experienced business-to-business focused service associate who can help resolve the hard problems, the complex situations that inevitably come up. I sort of think of it like when I'm sick, if I have a headache or a sore shoulder, like, I'm going to grab some Advil or an ice pack. If I have something really complex or complicated, I'm not going to self-serve, right? I'm counting on a highly skilled professional to fix my problem. I can't self-service every need. I also don't want to go to the doctor for every need. I need the combination of both when it comes to health. For your AR program, you want that same combination of self-service in real time for your simple needs and great business-to-business focused service associates for your customers' complex needs.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic analogy. And are there any real world examples you can share of kind of where each of these have maybe had an impact?
Yeah. Well, I'll give you two. And again, it emphasizes the importance of sort of combination and sometimes where automation can fall short. So imagine needing to make an important purchase for your business, and you just got a real-time automated credit decision, but the line doesn't cover the purchase amount, right? That's an automated experience, but it doesn't actually meet the customer's need and could result in a lost sale. I think you want that backstopped by great servicing agents who are empowered to meet the full customer need. The second example I'll give you, and this really illustrates what I see as the Capital One culture of treating our partners, their customers, as our own. One of our great agents realized that the person she was speaking to on the phone wasn't the actual customer. And it was a customer she had serviced previously. It was, in fact, a fraudster who had all the customer's personal information. Our agent was able to then contact the actual customer, let her know her identity had been compromised, saved countless dollars, countless other impacts, all based on recognizing the caller's voice was not the customer's. And as you can imagine, that customer was shocked, and like incredibly grateful for the above and beyond service.
Yeah, wow. I just, how can the ideal end-to-end accounts receivable experience solution, meet merchants where they are, rather than forcing merchants to come to that solution?
Yeah, look, I think if you found the combination of technology and human touch servicing we've talked about, and you're at the point where you're thinking about pulling the trigger to transform your AR program, now you're really looking for a seamless migration from your in-house program. And I think that means a couple things. One, you definitely want to maintain control and visibility of your program. Like you can let the servicing and some of the decisioning go somewhere else, but you don't want to lose control and visibility, even if operated by a third party. It means a smooth conversion of existing accounts in AR with no disruption for the customers. And it means the ability to add new customers to the program right away. At Capital One Trade Credit, we've honed our conversion playbook over the years and numerous onboardings from in-house programs. We recognize it can be a hard decision, to make the change from an in-house program. You'll want an experienced end-to-end AR solution ready to deliver a seamless transition.
Yeah, and so when merchants, they make that transition, they integrate kind of, it's been 20 years, they took a look, and they made the right choice. Kind of, what are some of the efficiencies that they can now enjoy, both from maybe that technical and customer experience perspective we've been discussing?
Yep. So I'll use your 20-year example. Imagine the AR program hasn't changed in the last 20 years. I think similarly, a winning AR program is like jumping into a modern car, highly efficient, modern technology. So you can think of the conveniences that you or your family or passengers want, and in this case, that your customers want, right? And are accustomed to in all their other interactions. And you want that new, AR program to be ready to provide great and reliable service for years to come. So again, I think a winning AR program, it's going to reduce the burden and expense on your in-house AR team. It's going to equip that team with the tools to make customized purchasing offers in real time. It will reduce the friction for the buyer and give the buyer self-service capabilities backed by great customer service. And so, look, when business leaders, are thinking about transforming their companies, I would just say they can't overlook the in-house AR program. It shouldn't be clunky. It shouldn't be a manual back office burden. It really can transform to become something that's a competitive advantage for your company.
Amazing. Yeah, and I think that's a great note to end on. Thank you so much for your time today, Ben. It was really great getting to hear your insights on this kind of, 20 years down the line. It's an exciting time.
Thanks a lot, Austin.